Hello, everybody. I am Ben Parker, joined by, as always, Austin Freed and Shane Ratliff. This is the Box Score Network, Pro Football Enterprises, whichever channel you're watching. Thank you so much for joining us. We're all pretty excited today. We are covering Arvell Reese, the linebacker from Ohio State. He is 6'4", 240. I could put up the stats for these defensive players, but I find stats just do not give a good representation for defensive players. I just don't like the way stats add up. You could, for instance, you could have a defensive back who has, no interceptions and no passes defense, but that could be because everybody's scared to death to throw the football to him, right? So the stats mean nothing on that, right? So I found that for defensive players, it's better to just kind of leave the statistics off when we're discussing them in detail and go by what we've got on film. Austin and Shane have both studied a lot of film on this guy, as have I. Shane, you are up first. Tell us about Arvell Reese.
Well, I think, Ben, you kind of already mentioned the athletic side and the sheer measurables. Um, when you watch this guy play, I think athleticism is the number one thing you notice. Um, for me, he does a great job of kind of that in between game. You know, at Ohio State, he's playing linebacker. He's probably in the pros going to become more of a Micah Parsons, where depending on your defensive alignment, he ends up playing with his hand in the ground a little bit. Um, I think he does a great job knocking down passes. Coverage skills are okay. Uh, I think the key thing for me watching him is a level of controlled aggression. Everything he does is going to be powerful when he gets into somebody. The tackles he makes, the blocks he distributes. Um, some of the weakness on that, I do think he could work on his hand placement. I think sometimes he just gets into people's bodies so fast that he doesn't get a chance to use some of that work. Um, I mean, when you've watched him the last couple of weeks, he has had absolute field days against everyone he's played against. Again, it helps when you're on an Ohio State team where you have a guy that plays safety that's bigger than you are, and you have some other people just running around creating havoc for you, and you have a former NFL head coach calling the defense for you. So, I mean, things are going okay for Ohio State. For him, the one thing I was surprised about for the level of athletic ability he has, and the other reason why I think he's going to become a hand on the ground guy is um, the coverage skills show from what I saw on game tape, he's okay, but he misses tackles in the open field because it's almost like he's not used to being in that open space anymore. They've used him a lot to rush after the quarterback and get after guys, and I think that's going to be where he makes his money in the NFL. Um, there, like I said, there's some definite weaknesses, but he's one of those guys, and this outside linebacker class has kind of become something where you just need to be freakish in a couple of attributes, and that gets you to skyrocket up the draft. And I think this guy, especially this year, has showed just absolutely dominant traits when he's been asked to come up with some big plays for Ohio State.
Shane, that's very good. And I am fascinated when you said that he may play more with his hand in the dirt at the NFL level, because I've got a note about a different part of that based on the film I saw this year of him and last year. So I'm interested in that, and I actually want that to happen. But I would dig more into that later when I get to my notes. Austin, you're up, man. Arvell Reese.
Yeah, this guy's a stud and he is so strong. I mean, for him to take on blocks like he does at 240 pounds is absolutely incredible. I mean, when offensive linemen try, like if they're running, anything where they're coming up to the second level and trying to block him, he's just like an anchor. Like he is like a solid brick wall sometimes when these 315-pound linemen run into him. Like he's that strong. And I think that's the most impressive part of his game is his ability to just take on a block, dig his cleats into the ground, and then I mean I think he sheds blocks pretty well too and makes tackles. Like I would love to see how powerful he could be if he were to try and put on some weight and like you said, move into like an interior spot maybe even. not an interior spot, but more of a pass rusher role on the edge.
Hmm.
I think he could, in theory, be really good at that. I am a little bit worried about. I don't think he has a great first step. That's something that I noticed a few times. I was like, it seems like he's a bit of a slow accelerator. I think once he gets going, he can move pretty good. But even for a lighter guy, 240 pounds, I don't think he's super explosive off the line. I don't think he has a great, get off. But that's my biggest complaint with him, just physically, is that first step. I think is average. I don't think it's bad. I think it's just average compared, especially to everything else. I think he has really good play recognition,
Hmm.
and his ability to just wrap up, hit you hard, make tackles. Whether he's got you, by one hand pulling you down, or if he's diving at your ankles, bringing you down, it seems like he's always making tackles. His coverage game, I think, is on the weaker side. That's probably his biggest weakness, I think, especially like following like a seam route vertically. If he's tasked doing that, I don't think he runs very well backwards, which is something that most linebackers don't do well, if we're being honest. I think we're seeing a lot more of it now in the NFL, but it's never really been a thing before. And it's kind of something that's sought after now, and guys are getting good at it. But yeah, his ability to carry vertical routes is pretty weak, I think. I think his zone coverage skills are all right, especially if he's, just kind of covering underneath stuff. I think he's fine with that. If you ask him to drop into like a hook zone, he'll be okay. I I like his ability to blitz from the linebacker role, though. I don't think he necessarily has to be up on the line to go get after the quarterback. If they're doing any sort of a blitz package where they're bringing five and he's the fifth guy coming. I saw a lot of plays where he was the one to take advantage of the numbers game and be the one to bring him down. And I think that's really a crucial role for somebody who doesn't get to go blitz very often. For in those opportunities you do, to be able to make the most of them and actually get the sack. Looking at weaknesses, I already mentioned them. There's really nothing else besides what I said. You can look and nitpick all you want. You're not really find too much, I think, in this guy to harp on negatively. You could say he is an awkward size potentially. I don't necessarily think so. I think he is light enough and strong enough to play at his play weight and not have to worry about having to add a few pounds. I don't think he necessarily needs to. Do I think he could? And it could maybe change his dynamic and change his usage ability? Yes, but I think he is absolutely okay at his current play size with his current play strength. Like he is almost maxed in terms of size and strength, the ratio. Like if he gets any bigger, he's probably going to get slower. Most of the time, that's what happens. And I don't necessarily want him to be slower because I think speed is one thing that he is just fast enough at right now. I don't think he has much speed to give up. And what you would gain on the strength side, he's already strong enough, I think, to play linebacker at the next level. So to me, he is a boxed up, ready to go. Draft him and play him at inside linebacker day one. I think he's ready to go do that right now on Sundays. So to me, that's a first round draft pick. No problem, especially considering the linebacker role, not really super valued in the modern NFL. I think he's going to be a top 20 pick as a true inside linebacker. And if it does come out that there are teams who are thinking about moving him and playing him as more of an edge or something like that, I think he could go even higher. But as a true inside linebacker, he's the number one in this class and worth probably a top half of the draft pick in the top 16. Like I'm very ready to get aggressive with Avril or Arvell.
All three of us like him. I absolutely love Arvell Reese. He ranks really high on the Ben Parker covet meter. All right. If I had a draft pick somewhere in the first round, I would really, really hope that I could land this guy. All right. That's one of my little kind of eye test, right? How bad do I want this guy? I want this guy. Okay. So I'm going to spend the first half of my notes bragging on him and drooling over him. Okay. And then there are a couple of weaknesses that I'll touch on here on the back half. But Make no mistake about it. I love this guy. Strong and fast. Good speed, not elite. Austin, you mentioned that. There's plenty of speed here. To me, it's more the athleticism that stands out. It's not the speed, but there's enough speed here. Plays edge, plays middle linebacker, even works as a stand-up defensive tackle on passing down. So he moves around. No surprise. You see that height-weight combination. No surprise he can move around. Really prefers to play standing up. Just did not see much film of him with a hand on the ground. He really seemed to prefer that. So now, Shane, it's interesting because you mentioned, hey, at the NFL level, he may play more with his hand in the dirt, and maybe not. I don't know, but I've got to know about that later that I'll touch on. Okay. To me, borderline elite run defender, especially from the middle linebacker spot. Oh my gosh, this guy just eats up the running game. Austin, you mentioned the recognition, but dang it, he just eats up the running game. I didn't quite put him as elite because I'm going to touch on something later. But boy, this guy is good in the running game. This guy will shut down a lot of run plays. I mean, just shut him down. I love that, man. There is a lot of tape. I mean, a lot of him shutting good blocks and tackling ball carriers, of him reading run and blowing up the play. I mean, just blowing it up. There's a lot of tape of him reading screens and crushing those screens. I talk a lot about edge rushers that cannot get out and hit screens. This guy does, all right? This guy from linebacker or edge, either one, can read screen and blow them up. I mean, I love that, man. Where are we at here? Of him setting a hard edge and still tackling a ball carrier. One of y'all already mentioned that he can anchor very well. He does, He hits hard. Y'all mentioned that. He's so good against the run. There's even a handful of tape of him ripping a tight end or a tackle out of the way with basically his arm strength. You talk about unusual. I mean, there's a few plays of him even doing that, just kind of ripping a guy away, what you would normally see from a much bigger guy. So, man, I am bragging and drooling here. Okay, so now occasionally drives where am I here? Occasionally drives tight ends or offensive tackles backwards, so he can actually even just bull people straight back into the quarterback. I've seen that. Okay, tremendous strength. I'll mention that. So the strength is there, especially when he's read the play before it develops. Now here we go. Having said that, there is a fair amount of tape with him getting blocked and sealed at second level by tight ends, guards, and tackles. Where's that at, Ben? Well, that's on the 25 Texas tape, the 25 Washington tape, and the 25 Minnesota tape. I saw it on all three of those. But even so, there are instances of him being driven backwards by guards, which really seems to make him mad. I can almost visibly see him on the unusual occasions, and it doesn't happen much, but it does happen, getting pushed back by a guard somewhere in second level, and you can just see him getting mad. Like, that is not supposed to happen to me. It's not going to happen again. Sometimes I'll see him get hit on one play and come back and smash the guy on the next play, but it is there. Pass coverage. Okay. Drops back in a very shallow zone a lot. And I got to stress, very shallow zone. Okay. And he's very good at that. All right. He does that a lot, but that's largely run support, QB spy. That's really his main thing when he's doing that. When he's doing this very shallow zone that he will often play, he's QB spying and he is run support there. When he's truly in zone coverage, he's aware of the guys in his area. He will gravitate to cover them, but he's just not going to carry moving routes far. He's just not going to do that for zone or man. He can shrink windows. He can block passes at the line. Shane, you already mentioned him blocking a lot of passes. He can move to cover zone holes where receivers attempt to settle down. So I love all of that. I mean, all of that is intelligent. It's athletic. He's got that. But he hasn't shown he can carry routes vertically or horizontally in zone, and definitely not in man. I actually think he's going to be a little bit of a liability in pass coverage at the NFL level. So that does worry me. And I'm not saying he can't learn to do better, but Austin, you did mention that running backwards or even the hip fluidity that you might want from guys who are going to do a lot of pass coverage, I don't see it here. So I'm going to try to keep him out of those spots as much as I can, because I think that could be a real problem at the NFL level where they just love to attack the middle. Anytime they got a linebacker sitting in the middle that they think they can pick on, they're going to do it. All right. So where am I at here? Rushing the quarterback. I really enjoy his work off the edge. I actually wish Ohio State would let him do it more often. I think both of y'all mentioned that. I think his work off the edge is very good. I think they should let him do it more often at the NFL level. I wouldn't be surprised if they do. And Shane, I think that's where it starts to come in there with maybe more of that hand in the dirt, that he could kind of get that launch pad a little bit more on some of the plays by playing off the edge there. Fast off the edge, wins that way. Strong, he can win that way. Long strides, long arms. Even if he's blocked effectively, he won't stay blocked. He can really compress the quarterback clock downward, which is often something I'm looking for. Even if he's not going to collect a lot of sacks, if he can squeeze that QB clock, because he's coming. Boy, I like that. Running downs. Okay, so here's why I've got him at the NFL level. Running downs, I'd love for him to be at that inside linebacker spot. And on passing downs, I'd love for him to move to edge, is really what I would like to happen, because I don't think he can do pass coverage very well. That's what I would like to see happen there at the NFL level. So, anyway, that's a lot. I love the guy. I'm going to draft him top 20 for sure. I don't know exactly where in the top 20, depends on my needs and who else is there, but I really like this guy. So, Shane, back to you, man. You've sat out for a while here, so I appreciate you being patient as always, but give us some more here on Arvell.
Well, I think you and Austin kind of wrapped up where I'm going to go on this part. I think he's a guy that's maybe born 10 years late. If this was the, NFL of the early 2000s, this is a three down guy. You draft him high and you love to watch him just attack the run game and do everything. Austin
Yes.
mentioned it already. That type of linebacker is very seldom seen now in the NFL. And I think the big thing for Arvell is going to be how he tests speed wise. As Austin said, I think he has just enough speed, but if he's a guy that shows a bad number on that, I think a lot of teams are going to talk about. I love so much about him. What else can we put him in? Is it going to be hard in our defense to play him off this? I think the one weakness that I did see that Austin talked about, his get off is not great. And I think that's also part of the thing that comes where you're talking about him getting blocked at the second level. If he doesn't diagnose early and has the ability to get his
Right.
hands out and attack, that's when he
Yes.
gets caught.
Absolutely.
The problem with that in the NFL now is that's exactly what they're looking. You zone block it, you have one guy hook on the outside and try to get to that second level defender and hope that you can reach out to him. I think the thing that really entices me is a comment that Austin made. I think the height to weight ratio, he just like Austin said, he's almost maxed out. Like if he was 2 inches shorter, then you would worry about where else they were going to play him. If he weighed just a little bit less, then you'd worry about can I play him in the middle again? It's kind of a balance with the way you're going to look for him. Like I said, 10 years late because before with the way special teams were played too, this guy would be an absolute monster. If you didn't start him on your defense the first year and you gave him to a special teams coordinator, that's how you get a Pro Bowl guy in a first year, because he could just absolutely dominate in that field. Ability to shed blocks, get on people, and tackle. I think the thing that's going to help him, both you guys really hit on this, he in the run game is an eliminator. Does a great job of getting downhill, gets off blocks, and when he reads the play in advance, you're looking at negative yardage. Does a great job on
Yeah.
that. My worry, as Austin brought up, is that if he doesn't test well speed wise, I think people will look for him to go down and play maybe more of an outside rush end, maybe a defensive end. That would increase the weight. He'd have to get bigger for that. But I think it's something that conversations have already started to happen about that.
Yeah, that's interesting. I especially like you mentioned the NFL offense is doing the zone hook, zone blocking kind of thing, and looking for that. That's a great point. And then I totally agree. When he reads and reacts, when he reads it, he's very good. And by the way, he reads it well a lot. That's why I like him so good. But when he doesn't at second level, that's when he starts to get in trouble. I 1,000% agree. Austin, man, wrap us up here with anything you want to tell us about Arvell Reese.
Yeah, I was trying to look at like comps for him, and he's in a weird zone in terms of physically. I don't want to necessarily just give him a comp based off like his height, weight kind of thing. Play style in the run game, I mean, I don't, again, he's not going to be Ray Lewis, but like, I mean, it's kind of there a little bit. Like it's a
It's
little
really
bit there.
good, man.
It's really good, dude. He's not going to be Ray Lewis,
Right.
most likely. Most likely. But like
Most
just that
likely.
violence, the violence at the point of contact is
Yep.
what is Ray Lewis like to me. But he's bigger and like taller.
Hmm.
He's taller. And I think that's
Hmm.
why I think a lot of people are projecting him almost to move down towards a more pass rusher heavy role just because the height is really good. And if he could develop a really explosive first step from uh, a lower starting point and develop some good bend, I could see it. But like, if you have the potential to be like anything close to Ray Lewis in the run game from a middle linebacker spot, you just take that. Like, that's why to me he's just a linebacker. I have him. It's Jahad Campbell to me, the very different player than
Hmm.
Jahad Campbell. But like Jahad
Right.
Campbell was a guy to me that I was pounding the table for in this last draft class. I had him as like my eighth overall player in the class or something like that.
Yep.
And he turns out he's fantastic as a linebacker. But everybody was saying like, "Oh no, he'll be really good. They just have to move him to an edge." And I'm just like, "No, he is so incredibly good at linebacker. I understand he has traits that make you want to say he could do the other thing really well. And the other thing is technically more valuable, but like this is a bird in the hand versus two in the bush situation. Like
Mm.
you've got a tremendous talent at linebacker. Do not go screw it up and try and add 5 to 15 pounds to his frame and turn him into an edge rusher. Just not worth it for me.
Mm.
Um, I mean, again, super willing as a middle linebacker to draft him well inside the top 20, close to the top 10. I think my overall grade with him will probably end up somewhere in that 12 to 18 range, most likely. That's probably where I'll end up on him. We'll have to see where the testing numbers come out because those do change everything, absolutely. But also, you're talking about a player who's young. Like I don't
Hmm.
think he's 21 yet, and that's another reason that to love him. I'm personally the younger the better. I think anytime a player comes out late, it shows like a red flag to me. This guy's broken out in college as a super young player. I am all in on Arvell Reese.
He's got grown man strength at
Yeah.
only being 21. He's ready to play in the NFL. The physical comp I said for him, Austin, I thought Donta Hightower.
Yeah.
He has a good height. He's not that same weight right now, but again, like you said, he's 21. He's not 3 years in the NFL already. Another guy that people question about the speed, but somebody you didn't want to run into as a tailback. So I agree with the like you said. It's tough to say Ray Lewis because as soon as you say Ray Lewis, people go, "Well, yeah, Ray Lewis, yeah, sure, he's going to be Ray
Right.
Nitschke and all these and thick buckets and all." But I agree with you. I think the physical, it's like a wrestler mentality. The way that he attacks the ball carrier, like it's their fault for getting the ball.
Yeah.
Those are the type of things you see that has like those Lewis-esque qualities.
There it is, everybody. We all love Arvell Reese. I listen. I call him top 20. The way this draft is shaping up, I don't really have any problem with people moving guys into the top 10 that I might have graded at 15 to 20 because I think a lot of these guys are very similar. I've got to have a pecking order, right? But boy, I think that's the way this draft shapes up. Anyway, we all love him. He's tremendous. That's Arvell Reese, Ohio State. We've got lots of other draft prospects on this channel, so go check it out. Everybody have a great one. Goodbye.